So every relationship needs care, which is communication, admiration, respect, and eros. So the communication is extremely important, obviously, to be able to have this safe container that you can talk to your spouse, your partner about anything, absolutely anything with no judgment. And that's the biggest hurdle that I think that anybody has to get over, is just that ability to trust. And especially if that trust has been broken previously, or it gets broken within the relationship. And that's where, again, that's where you see things in a relationship breaking down, because now without that trust, they don't feel they can talk to that person anymore.
Especially if you try to
So,
tell someone something really painful and then they don't respond in a loving or supportive way, or
mhm.
you come clean or you admit something very that you're scared to tell them and they get mad and lose their shit.
Mhm.
Like that just destroys communication. But I feel like for
Totally
a lot
does.
of people, that's just the usual way that they communicate.
That's the reality. And and it's that person's got to own that. I mean, they're the ones that really need to look at themselves and say, why am I responding like that? What's that reflection of? What trauma have I received that's a reflection of? So it's so in like the communication aspect of it, and then the admiration, because you really need to admire the person, think that they're attractive, think that, I mean, there's you love the way that they dress, or you love the way they present themselves.
Mhm.
Very important. You want to take this person out in public. You want to feel good with having this person on your arm, or opening the door for you, whatever it happens to be. And respect. And that's just how a person, how do they treat the waiter at the restaurant? How do
Mhm.
they go about their daily lives? Like I said, the way you do some things is the way you do everything. And, if that's the kind of presentation you have, you have to have respect. You have to look at that person and put them on a little bit of a pedestal, and say, I respect you. I respect your decisions.
Well,
You
even
know,
in the case of like what I said before, where you're telling someone something, that's personal, and then they get upset with you or
mhm.
angry at you. To me, that is a prime example of disrespect.
Totally disrespect.
That at
Complete
all
disrespect.
time, and people think that I'm crazy, but I think that at every moment in a relationship, that my partner and I should be giving each other respect, even when we're angry, even.
E would be for eros. And that's just that sensuality and that sexuality and
The
that
passion.
passion that's within the relationship.
And finding that passion, igniting that
Yeah.
passion always.
It's so
Sometimes
important.
that's the part that just kind of becomes a routine. Oh, here it is. It's Saturday night again. This is our night. You know what I mean? Get out of that routine.
Welcome to the Fearless Living Podcast.
Welcome to the Fearless Living Podcast. I'm Annie Temple, your host. 23 years ago, seeking to embrace more variety and excitement, Kandace and Gregory made the decision to open their marriage. During this period, Kandace and Gregory's experiences unearthed deep-rooted sexual trauma from their pasts. Through open communication and unwavering support for one another, they confronted these demons, ultimately leading to a profound understanding of themselves and their relationship. Their unwavering love and commitment guided them through the challenging process, strengthening the foundation of their connection. You can read about their journey in a tell-all book called Fucking Our Way to Enlightenment. Driven by a desire to empower others, they followed up with subsequent writing projects exploring themes of sexuality, spirituality, and the swinger lifestyle, challenging societal norms and providing a platform for open, honest conversations about personal desires and relationships. And they're here with me today to shatter taboos and encourage individuals to embrace their authentic selves. I asked Kandace and Gregory to join me for a special Christmas podcast to talk about ethical non-monogamy. And I think we'll probably be talking about trust and communication in relationships. Could be wrong, but we'll see. And let's find out. So, thank you both for joining me. And can you please tell my audience just a little bit about the two of you in your own words?
Sure. Who wants to start?
I don't know. I think that first we have some eggnog, and since it's a Christmas episode, we should at least toast our
There you
audience and
go.
say
Nice. I have tea.
Merry Christmas to
Merry Christmas
everyone.
to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Well,
Yeah.
Gregory and I met when we were 7 and 8 years old. and we met in Sunday school.
Wow.
And we ended up having a little youth afternoon, and we all went skating. And that's kind of when I kind of fell in love with him when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we didn't see each other until
Yeah,
it was his 18th birthday, and I was invited to a surprise birthday party. And since then, we've been together.
I looked over and I went, wow, she's flowered. And that was it. And yeah, so 4 years later, we got married. And a couple years after that, moved to the coast, traveled the world. Many years after that, we had children. We've got two adult boys now that we're extremely proud of. And it's sort of taken us to this point in our lives. It's been quite an interesting journey. And it was about 4 years ago now, 3 years ago now, we were asked to put on a workshop as a for Swingers 101, just to introduce people to the swinger lifestyle per se at that time. And we came up with about 50 things that we went through and did our little presentation. And at the end of the presentation, it was so well received. People were like, almost the more questions that were.
You have so much
many
information
stories.
and so many stories.
You need to write a book. And so it was through that motivation, we kind of came home the next day and went, well, let's write a book. And so we just started sort of articulating all of the different scenarios. We didn't really know how to approach it originally because we didn't want it to be a brag book. We want it to be something that people could learn something from, learn from our experiences, whichever way they were. And so we compiled this, these hundreds of stories at that particular time. And then, found ourselves an amazing editor that would tackle our project with us.
And always ask the question, so why did you do that?
Why
And
did
we
you do
kind of
that?
go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now you got to think about it. Why did we do that? What motivated us? What were our feelings and emotions during that time? So it was really good for us to kind of learn. And so we
So we
could
examined that. And then once we did, we completely changed the direction of the book. Like we started from
Wow.
scratch, basically. And because we finally understood behavior patterns and
lessons that we learned along
lessons
the
that we
way.
learned along, and you don't really get those until you have some maturity, you've got some time behind you that you can now start to reflect. And it was, through that reflection process that we started to see trends. We started to see things that, choices that we had made and, that have brought us to where we currently are. And yeah, that's kind of what got us here.
So I skimmed a little bit of your book. It looks fascinating. And you mentioned that it's going to come out on Audible. And I'm not a screen reader. I am definitely a person who loves audiobooks. I listen to them in my car. So I really look forward to listening to your
Fantastic.
book
Good.
for sure.
Good.
I also have an audiobook out, my memoir as well.
Mm,
Wow, it takes a lot of work to record it, doesn't
it
it?
sure does.
Oh my goodness, the
This book is
editing.
basically in my voice, so it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, and I thought that I mean I only really skimmed, but I think did you do more of the writing,
I think
Candace, or did you
pretty
guys
much
kind of do it
Yeah,
equally?
equal.
the writing
Equal?
was
Okay, I
pretty
Yeah.
need to
equal,
get
yeah.
further in.
Yeah. We had to be careful with the voice. When we originally had the idea for the book, we wanted to look at it as two voices talking, have a conversation basically. But that conversation was because through each one of these adventures that we've been on, um, perspectives are different from both of our points of view.
Male and female.
Male and female.
Mhm.
So we wanted to kind of go through it and say, okay, well, this is my side of the story and this is Kandace's side of the story. And once we had compiled it like that, we realized that it was just really boring to read because you're reading the same thing twice almost, So, again, Fleur, our editor, said, we should kind of reconsider that. So because of the trauma that was discovered through writing the book was all on Kandace's side. And so we just felt it'd be better if it came from her voice. So we decided to change it to Candace's voice throughout the whole book. And then I've got these little,
Insert.
insert things of just, or if it was a story that, Candace wasn't part of, that where she just witnessed, but she doesn't really know what was going on in my head. So
Well, I love it. I love it. That's wonderful. Before we go forward, I just wonder because this is the first thing that I thought of when you were talking about your story. And so if it's the
Mhm.
first thing I thought of, then maybe it's the first thing other people think of. But was it because you've been together since you were so young that you decided you wanted to ex have an exploration with other people outside of the relationship because your limited experience of only being with each other, or could you explain your
Well,
motivations?
it was kind of in the late 30s, and you got to realize at that point we're married for almost 20 years. So that's a long time. And it was, we're kind of bored. You start getting bored in bed. There's just, you've got your certain moves that you like, and you kind of always kind of go back to them, and it's one of those things. And I've got a high libido, and so does he. And so we kind of went, it just kind of worked into that. Well, let's go to a naked resort and just go hang out there and see what it's like. And then before you know it,
Well, we laugh that we have the variety gene. We just like change. We embrace change musically. We still listen to whatever's currently. We're never satisfied with what was back there. We've taken it as a growing thing, and now we're moving forward. So that was a lot of it too. Is just wanting to have those experiences, and
Yeah.
and
Well, as
understanding that no one person can give you 100%
yes.
of your sex desires. It's impossible
yeah,
because, so at some
so
point you may want to be with the same sex. Well, obviously you can't when you're married. So you end up opening up your relationship because you kind of go, these are a few things that I've never tried that are kind of interesting and they're on my fantasy bucket list. And it just kind of worked out that way that we were both in agreement that, yeah, we can go and explore that too.
I can really relate because I've been a serial monogamist and I know like after years of sex with the same person, you're right. You start to do the same thing over and over again. You know what each other like, you know your
Hmm.
thing. So you all always just go straight to it and it can the familiarity of the touch, it becomes less exciting. And there's so many aspects of that. And so I could totally relate to what you're saying. And I do believe that a lot of relationships, and potentially this might be one of the biggest reasons that women stop having sex with their husbands,
mhm.
because I feel like that's an epidemic, honestly.
Well,
But that I've always thought, because I work in massage, I've always thought that all these women need to go out and get a massage from another man. And that would bring back
mhm.
some of their sex drive maybe, and then they might go home and be more interested in their husbands.
Yeah,
That's
I think
it.
it's communication and stigma. People go through relationships and they've got desires, they've got fantasies that they're embarrassed to share with their spouse because they're fear, they have a fear of some kind of repercussion, or that their spouse is going to think the same of them anymore. So they never express it. So then they become this closeted whatever, never satisfied, never happy in their lives, never happy within their sex lives. In fact, a lot of times that it ends up looking like you've got some sort of not aggression, but sort of dislike of sex because it's not the sex that you want to have. It's what I'm going to get, but that's not what I really want to have or that I really desire.
Resentments.
Mhm.
And then men, and it's in the book, it's in the first book, and we talk about when men start to get into their mid 40s, late 40s, early 50s, and they start to have other sexual issues. Maybe they're not as healthy anymore. Maybe they're starting to have erectile issues. Maybe they're having whatever, or there's confidence issues that are happening. So they end up pulling away from their spouse because they're embarrassed about it. And then their spouse feels, as a female, feels rejected. And as soon as they feel rejected, they don't have any, there's nothing between them anymore. And you start to see it slowly growing apart. And completely could have been remedied through discussion, through conversation, and through just sort of having some sort of a safe envelope or a safe container to be able to share that in. And we're starting to see so much of that with things, not just friends, but just strangers that are coming into our lives within minutes are they're telling us everything.
Mhm.
They're just
Opening
Yeah,
up.
I have
spilling,
that problem too.
and
I mean, it's not a problem, but
It's not a
yeah,
problem.
I mean, we embrace it. We embrace it. We love the fact that
That
people
they
feel that
can be
can
comfortable
feel
and feel
themselves, and
feel like the safety of the two of us that they can express
yeah.
themselves.
Well, I had a skim of your second book too, and one
Mhm.
of the things that really popped out to me right away was a male perspective. And it's something I'm really finding out because I've started doing coaching with clients who are lacking intimacy. The majority of them are men who go to see sex workers and they
Mm.
fear putting themselves out there. They fear dying alone, being lonely, and these are, so common issues in older men, especially when their marriages break down and now they're newly single, and they might have erectile difficulties and other types of issues. So, I'm really starting to understand like the male perspective. And even I had a gentleman say something to me, which I was like kind of surprised. I've had a couple of situations. One was where a gentleman said to me, usually men, we pick a woman that we think is the same like caliber we are. So if I'm a 6, I go for a 6. If I'm a 10, I go for a 10. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true for every man because I've seen a lot of men that aren't conventionally attractive necessarily that are quite confident with women and are
Mhm.
getting like, multiple 10s. You know what I mean?
We usually
Um,
look at those people walking past and going, he's got a good job.
Yeah, and then I noticed there's the trend of videos, dating advice
Yeah.
videos, because I give dating
Mhm.
advice, so I've checked them out. And there's all these men giving dating advice about how to date a 10. And I'm like, wow, like the physical attractiveness of the woman is really important to the man. And then when I was skimming your book, I saw a part about if you're in a couple and then you bring a younger woman into the mix and how that can affect the woman who is your partner, who's aging, who's had your kids, who you don't have that same excitement. And I think part of it is their youth, but also I think part of it is just the excitement of it not being your familiar partner. Um,
That's most of it
Yeah.
because, as we say,
The
it's
dopamine.
how do you get that feeling, that rush of a new
Yeah.
date or a new partner? You bring it back. Well, you add in that person, and that's
mhm.
where you get that
Yeah.
excitement
Because you
again
have
and
the
that
foundation
dopamine
that's there.
rush.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, like Candace says, we can never fulfill all of each other's needs, and people say that they have a 50-50 relationship, and nobody ever has a 50-50 relationship. It's never 50-50. Somebody is always giving something, whether they say so or not, somebody's always giving up or relinquishing some part of themselves for their partners so that their partner is happy. Um, which is a bit of an extension of compersion. You want to have that going on within your relationship. But as long as there's no, feeling of there needs to be some sort of reciprocal, that should just be a given. That should be something that each partner wants to give the
Mhm.
other person.
Not like, oh, it was
So
you did it last time, now it's my turn.
yeah, like
None
Mhm.
of that. You're always in a place of love and kindness.
always. Yeah.
And
So
then
how do
it always
you how
balances out.
are you both just naturally people who understand this and this has been kind of an easy path for you, or have you been through?
Overall, I think our entire
So
life, we've kind of been like that. We're both artists and we're both very creative, and we work off of each other.
mhm.
And,
That's
and I
beautiful.
think, again, that comes down to communication. The more that we're open and we're talking about it, just as
Yeah.
much as if I go off and have a little fling with somebody else around the corner, I can't wait to come back and tell them all about it. I go, oh
Hmm.
my God, he did this. I've never had that before. And he started
Yeah.
kissing me like this and he held me like that and it's just all exciting. It's exciting for me and then it's exciting to tell him and then he gets all excited and then he says that just makes me aroused. It's just such a turn on.
I
And
love
that
that. And
again,
do
that's all
do
part of compersion,
have what's
understanding it.
what's compersion?
So compersion is the joy that you receive from seeing your partner in pleasure or happy.
Mm,
It's just to
okay.
see them enjoying that part of it. And it's a word that came out of a California commune a number of years ago, and it's just we're starting to see more and more and more of it now, and it's even popping up in
Mhm.
television. The word is coming up sometimes. So
Wow, I'm
it's
glad I learned
interesting
it then.
seeing,
Good.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That
So it's
sounds
just,
very cool because
and
usually people think of it as a cuck.
yeah, but I mean, it can work in so many different ways from
I
just the
agree. I
whole cuck
agree.
thing,
That is
because
so such a small.
Yeah,
percentage, I think.
because that's, in a cuck situation, that there's a control dynamic that's happening. And it's
Mhm.
control from the female side or possibly from the male side, if that's the side. But it's control. Compersion's got nothing to do with control.
Mhm.
Compersion is completely just allowing your partner to fully express themselves in however it is. And if they're just, if they're receiving pleasure from that, that brings me joy. That brings us, happiness inside.
Have you
And
ever felt
And
jealous?
turns each other on.
yeah, it turns each other
Because
on.
the more you see them just enjoying themselves with somebody else, it's just exciting you. And you kind of go, I can't wait so I can feel that same energy. And you're just waiting for that
Mm.
opportunity. And you kind of go, yes, now it's my turn to jump in.
Just listening to you talk is making me horny. Do you ever or have you ever gotten jealous of a situation?
I don't think jealous. I mean, if you want to go back to when we were 18, 19 years old, 20 years
Yeah.
old, maybe there's an immaturity that's there and there's not a really good understanding of our emotions and our feelings and our communication. Um,
So what would you tell
in recent
someone who
memory,
is
no.
having problems with jealousy?
What was the
What would you tell someone who is having problems with jealousy in a situation like this?
they have to really look at where the source of that jealousy is. And there's also two different things. There's jealousy and there's envy. And a lot of times people really confuse those two things. And we see that in nightclubs a lot, or like not nightclubs, but swinger clubs. And women typically attract way more attention than a man's going to attract. If you put yours, if I see you on a dating site, you're going to get way more traction out of that from the male population than a guy would with females. Anyways, so you
Mhm.
go into that and you start to see all the attention that your spouse is getting. Now, is that envy or is that jealousy? You have to take a look to see where is that emotion coming from and why are you afraid of that? Why are you afraid of this emotion? Or what's conjuring it up? It's something you have to talk to yourself about because you're the one that's creating this emotion. And
For
you just
sure.
need to know how you're creating this or why you're creating this emotion. Are you feeling lack? Are you feeling, I'm not good enough? Am I, I'm not making enough money? Am I doing this? Or, I don't drive a nice enough car. Now this guy's going to get her. You know,
Yeah, I think that's the one. This guy's gonna get her, or this woman's gonna take my man, or
yeah.
I feel like that's a pain point for people. The fear of losing their partner, or their partner being more attracted to the other person or more involved or in love
And
with the
that's where your communication before you go to these parties, before you engage in it, is that you create that closeness between your partner.
Always. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
whether or not, it's just a few minutes of eye gazing or kissing passionately or actually lovemaking
Mhm.
before these other people come over is really important. Knowing that
Mhm.
this is the main attraction right here. He
Mhm.
is my beloved and always will be. The other ones are just
Playtime.
playtime. Exactly.
So, have you read the book Polysecure?
I skimmed through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because it has a completely different perspective um of poly relationships that I think is totally different from what you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
But
we've never approached a poly relationship. We've talked about it. We understand that it's a possibility or there's an option for us. It's
Mhm.
just for us, that's not what we're
For us,
looking
it's
for.
just the two of us, and it's always been the two
Yeah.
of us, always will be the two of us.
And
And
I feel like that's what ethical non-monogamy is really about, is more like what you're talking about, in my
Well,
opinion.
I mean, we have lovers. We have some beautiful people that are in our lives that we too, we really truly enjoy and we love them. But they have their lives, and they get up there,
and they'll have
they do their
boyfriends
things
and girlfriends.
and they
They'll
do
go out
their
and
thing.
do their thing during the
Hmm.
week, and it's we make sure that there's a distance between us. They have their life, and we have ours, and it
Hmm.
seems to work just fine that way because everyone
Yeah,
seems to
for us.
be yeah. For us, it's working. They haven't said anything negative, but sometimes they'll kind of go, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. You think we can get together?" And then we'll kind of go, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's plan it in the next couple of weeks." It's not like jump on it and say,
Hmm.
okay, let's go right now. It's one of those
Yeah.
things, if I see them once a month or twice a month, that's good. And that's
Hmm.
okay, because there's a few of them. So you get,
You got to spread it
so you're
out.
pretty
Yeah.
busy.
there's that phrase of it's kind of a label, and it's um not sapiosexual. It's there's
Symbio.
Symbiosexual. So that's we've been trying to find labels to confuse people with because we hate labels, and nobody fits in a label.
To a perfect label.
I
Everybody
agree.
wants a label. So we've decided that
Symbiosexuals.
we're fluid symbiosexuals. Yeah. So
Okay.
and
that,
really the understanding of that is that there's fluidity just in our sexual preferences, and but there needs to be a connection with whoever that we're with, and it needs to be
Not only physically,
not only
emotionally, and possibly spiritually.
Yeah, and that their presence enhances our existence. It enhances our relationship. So that's where the symbiotics ends up happening. Is it's just all these things are working together, and we've been really getting into energy work over the last few years, and the more we dive into that, the different approaches that we have for our playtime.
Mhm.
It's been an interesting journey.
Yes, because there's
And
a
you need the
lot
right
more.
and you need the right kind of playmates at that point as
That's
well.
right, because
that are
we're kind
gonna
of
appreciate
touching
that.
on more tantric, more energy
Mhm.
orgasms.
The
A little bit.
our Careta Method that we're starting to teach.
Yeah, that's a different kind of experience than just unbridled
Yeah, it's totally different.
sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No more ground and pound.
Yeah, and like um ethical non-monogamy, like you were saying, it comes in so many shapes or forms. Like coming from the sex industry, there are a lot of couples who hire sex workers, so that there's no jealous feelings and that's where they draw their lines, and
Because it's not cheating then.
yeah, because it's a professional and she's not going to try
Yeah.
and steal your husband or your wife and or he. And yeah, so I feel like, there's like each couple has to find what works best for them in the context of their own perspectives. Do you feel that for someone to make it work, that they have to have the kind of relationship that you two have? Because I would say that it's very rare to be as close as the two of you are.
I think everybody can have the relationship that we have. They just have to choose to have that relationship. Life is always about choices. Every minute of the day, we're making choices. And if we try to make choices that make ourselves a little bit happier or our spouse a little bit happier, eventually you're just happy and you don't even think about it anymore. It's just the abundance starts to come, and the benefits are reaped upon you, and it's just there's times that you irritate each other, whatever, but
Yeah.
you don't know where that person was at that particular time. I don't know what conversation that Candace might have had with a friend, or maybe her whatever upset her or threw her off in a different direction, whatever it is. The same with me. I mean, if I haven't eaten my 4 meals a day, I can get a little bit cranky sometimes. But
Dennis is laughing. That's hilarious.
but we understand that of each other, and we accept that of each other.
And that's the other thing, is noticing, being present and actually noticing how your partner is feeling, and when it's time to just give them space. Maybe he just needs to be alone for a little bit, or maybe now it's time to just sit really close and just cuddle.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say anything. You don't have to say, "What's wrong, honey?" Just sit. Just sit and just be present. And a lot of times people just don't realize sometimes that's all they need. They just
Mhm.
want to feel like um they're loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah,
and as
they're
much
loved.
as much as we always have something to say to each other, we also need to listen to each other. And that's not just listen to whatever words just came out of her mouth as she entered the door or whatever. It's just like listen to the tone, listen to the body language, listen to that part of it. And just again, like Candace says, be aware and just be present. Just be present with your life all the time. But if you're present with your spouse, it's just makes that
That's
much easier
huge.
too. Yeah.
That's huge. My last relationship, that was one of the real problems, was just the phone staring.
Mm.
Not on my side.
Mm.
But like, I'm bored now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to go on much longer like this,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
And thus.
And I'm not, I became single in May, so it's been about 8 months now, and I just started dating. And on the Tinder profile, it gives you the option to uh, select what kind of relationships that you're open to. So I clicked monogamy and ethical non-monogamy. Those were options. I thought that was
Oh, that's
very
wonderful.
cool and very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that it is the world is changing, but I've been on a couple of dates and I do notice that like some people really want to just talk and not listen.
Hmm.
And other people like I have a problem where people who talk for too long, I want to interrupt them. It's so bad. Like I don't know how to
You gotta
control
go, my
it.
turn, my turn.
Yes, like, or I want them to hurry up and finish the
Mm.
point because it's just like, no, I don't need to know all of this. Just get to the point. I'm just, but I'm a storyteller. So I have an idea of how stories are supposed to go.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. We all have our preconceived notions. Yeah.
But I do find that that is such a really valid, important point about listening because, especially in a relationship, and like you say, not just what the person is saying, but their body language and being present. That's so important too. But I mean, you guys, I think I don't know if you're already doing couples counseling, but you'd probably be amazing at couples counseling.
We
But
have,
I
yes,
feel
we've
like
started that as well.
you have started that. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people, like I feel like what you have is rare. I just
Hmm.
I've been in a really good relationship before. It wasn't permanent, but I know what it's like to be with someone that you can trust and have that communication with and have that bond with, and it's really special. And I felt like it was really rare, and I had a lot of people tell me all the time what I had was really rare. And when I see you guys, I think this is so amazing. But I felt like ethical non-monogamy brought us closer in a lot of ways because it opened up our communication and it made us better at communication. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that and how that has unfolded with your relationship?
We talked about the
Totally.
care.
Yeah. So, as we were writing the book, we were coming up with, through our analysis and what we've been doing and things that have been important for us. And again, it's back to the why questions that kept getting asked to us. And so, going back to these acronyms, things and descriptions, we came up with this care. So every relationship needs care, which is communication, admiration, respect, and eros. So the communication is extremely important, obviously, to be able to have this safe container that you can talk to your spouse, your partner
About
about
anything,
anything,
anything.
absolutely anything with no judgment. And that's
Hmm.
that's the biggest hurdle that I think that anybody has to get over is just that ability to trust. And especially if that trust has been broken previously or
Hmm.
it gets broken within the relationship. And that's where, again, that's where you see things in a relationship breaking down because now without that trust, they don't feel they can talk to that person anymore.
Especially if you try to
So,
tell someone something really painful and then they don't respond in a loving or supportive way, or
mhm,
you come clean or you admit something very that you're scared to tell them and they get mad and lose their shit.
mhm.
Like that just destroys communication. But I feel
It
like for a
totally
lot
does.
of people, that's just the usual way that they communicate.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's the reality.
Hmm.
And it's that person's got to own that. I mean, they're the ones that really need to look at themselves and say, why am I responding like that? What's that reflection of? What trauma have I received that's a reflection of? So it's so in like the communication aspect of it, and then the admiration, because you really need to admire the person, think that they're attractive, think that, I mean, there's, you love the way that they dress, or you love the way they present themselves.
Mhm.
Very important. You want to take this person out in public. You want to feel good with
Hmm.
having this person on your arm or opening the door for you, whatever it happens to be. Um, and respect. And that's just how a person how do they treat the waiter at the restaurant? How do
Mhm.
they go about their daily lives? Like I said, the way you do some things is the way you do everything. And, if that's the kind of presentation you have to have respect. You have to look at that person and put them on a little bit of a pedestal and say, I respect you. I respect your decisions.
Well,
You
even
know,
in the case of like what I said before, where you're telling someone something, that's personal, and then they get upset with you or angry at you. To me, that is a prime example of disrespect.
Totally
Yes.
disrespect.
That at
Huge
all
disrespect.
times, and people think that I'm crazy, but I think that at every moment in a relationship, that my partner and I should be giving each other respect, even when we're angry, even when we
Mm.
wanted, even when we feel like
Yeah.
bopping each other in the face,
I
like
just want to be
that we're
heard.
still respectful because
Yeah.
everyone deserves it, and that's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
But that seems really difficult for people to manage.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
even for me, for a long time, I mean, like you said, it takes growth and maturity and going into, you know, learning about yourself to really
Mhm.
grow out of that stuff. So I
Mhm.
apologize for
No
interrupting
worries.
you. Keep going
Mhm.
on. We're at
And
respect.
and the E would be for Eros. And that's just that sensuality and that sexuality and
And the
the
passion.
passion that's within the relationship.
And finding that passion, igniting that
Yeah.
passion always.
So important.
Sometimes that's the part that just kind of becomes a routine. Oh, oh, here it is. It's Saturday night again. This is our night. You know what I mean? Get out of that routine. Get out of all those little things. Have it on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and Thursday as well, or
Yeah,
whatever.
we have a really bad routine actually. So I'm an early riser. Candace isn't. So I get up at 6 and I go back to bed at 8:30 and we're generally there till 9:30, quarter to 10.
Yes, it
And
comes
we're
back to
just
bed, and that's when we kind of just hang out together, and whatever it's
Okay.
going to be, whether it's full on wham
whatever.
bam, or is it just going to be playful touching, or if it's
Oh,
just
I
formal
love
that
morning
day, or
sex.
maybe we're
Morning
going to
sex
watch
is
each
the
The
other
morning sex is the best.
masturbate,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? It could be anything.
Yeah.
I love that.
Trying to
I
get
get up at
together.
5 every day.
Do you?
And my last partner, he was not a morning person. He wanted to like get all cuddly at night, and I was like, oh, exhausted. Like, no.
I went up since 5.
But we also, excuse me, we also faced another issue um, with me because of my health that for a long time I couldn't have sex. And he didn't even want to have intimacy. And I miss that. That eros part that you're talking about to
Hmm.
me is not just about penetrative sex,
No,
it's about
So,
exactly.
the
so
intimacy.
we're
And I think that's
our
just a
third
lack of
book.
education, especially on the men's side. They think that that's all there is.
Mhm.
I just gotta plug that hole.
Yeah,
And well, it's not all about that. And especially for women, we just need more time. We need that caressing. We need that foreplay. It's really important. And I find that even more so as I'm getting older, because then I start connecting with my body and I just get those emotions going and I feel the Kundalini going through my body and I can just bring all that energy up and then express it to him even more so.
I'm going to be replaying this video or this podcast later. Yeah, that is so beautiful. Yeah, I agree with that. That's so true. Eros is so
Our
important. Like even just naked hugs, like just the
Oh,
skin to
yeah.
skin contact, just the
Mhm.
embrace. I feel like I would encourage people who are in relationships with someone who's sick to do that with them, because I went years without even being touched with my husband, who was my partner previous to that, because I've had a bit of a roller coaster with health issues. And, at our age, well, I'm 50 and I've grown children too. So I'm assuming you guys are around the same age as me, even though you look very young. Okay, you're a little older than me. Okay. But I find like a lot of people at our age are starting to have, I've been having health issues for years, but a lot of people are starting to really have them now. And I think that
Oh,
it
yeah.
really interferes with the eros.
Big time,
Yeah.
big time. And like
So
I said, if that's what we're trying to, that will be our third book. We'll be
our third
talking
book,
more
yeah.
about that, about sex as people get older.
The
And
working. We haven't figured out a proper or a proper title for it yet because we don't want to offend anybody. We're pensioners. Like
it's like, so what do you want? Sex for pensioners? Or
so the working title right now is
How
banging.
about aging sexfully?
age sexfully.
Yeah, that's really good. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking. Yeah, Banging Boomers is the working title on it.
Banging boomers. I
But
like
but the
that.
concept, yeah, or one of the areas is something that we learned about a few years ago. Actually, during COVID is when we learned about it, and we learned about it through our own practice. We didn't learn about it by reading about it or reading about it. We didn't even know what it was called, but eventually we found out, and it's really so much of it's based on the Careta Method. So the Careta Method comes out of the 1800s, early 1800s through the Quakers, and it was a way of um, uh, maintaining intimacy within a relationship, but it was a birth control is really what it was. So, they took ejaculation right off the market and with no expectations of it, but still maintain that intimacy and sort of do everything else that's involved in it. And then it was rewritten about in the like 1928 or something by another person. They read, this Careta manual, but it's really has a lot of the patriarchy. It's still 1928 beliefs in relationships and men and women.
Yeah.
So we've taken those and we've kind of looked at a few different practices through tantric, through Careta, enveloping some Buddhist and Taoist, and we've got this whole blender that we're sort of meditation we're throwing together and just sort of creating a connection and a connectivity exercise as well as an intimacy exercise for people to do and just to explore and the bottom line is its presence, just making sure you're fully present in this situation and ways of teaching, touch and things that maintain that presence, and then sharing those energies,
I
through
think
breath.
women struggle with presence in
You know,
sex
some women,
more than men, maybe.
we'll get into the whole bubble thing too. We were talking about earlier, but like within our circle, we have a very, very cuddly circle. Like all of our friends are very cuddly. They're very intimate, very, very tight. And you can see outsiders coming in and just how much they dive into it and how much they express their either desire for it or just express the fact that they didn't know they needed it that much, or when it's done, it's like, wow, I really needed that. And it's not just there's a touch there, there's an energy that's there. There's we're a blender of auras that are going on in there, and if you're present with it, you can share that. If you've got that, just express it.
Yeah, when I was suffering with touch starvation, I didn't realize it at the time, and I didn't even know there was a name for it. But I did have a couple of one night stands and felt nothing. That did nothing for me at all. I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother with this anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when I did have an intimate connection, like you're talking about, the first time that happened, then I realized, oh my God, I needed this. Oh my God, something's wrong with me. I was crying and it was so beautiful. And when I did research on it after, that's when I came across the words touch starvation, and I learned more about that. And I really related to it because that's exactly what I've been going through. But you're right, it's not the touch that heals touch starvation. It's the connection. It's the
connection and
sensual,
those
erotic
vibrations.
connection.
Yeah, that energy vibration that you
Yeah,
have. Mm-hmm.
that's
And it helps
beautiful.
with a bit of mushrooms.
I just had someone message me the other day. They're reading my memoir and they said, "Wow, I can't believe how many times you did mushrooms in your life." I'm like, I didn't realize how many times until I wrote my memoir.
Kind of the same with our book. And when we talked about the ayahuasca experience, the DMT, the mushrooms, the cannabis, and
and
how
actually,
all working together
yeah.
to bring you to that next level of intimacy by
Mhm.
using plant medicines. Just makes you a little bit more open, a little bit more spiritual, a little more relaxed, all those things that just bring up
Connected.
this higher vibration in your body, which of course then reflects on the person beside you, whether or not they're taking it or not. Sometimes, even if they're not, they kind of go, I feel your energy. You just lift it up.
Yeah,
Right?
that's so true. Unlike alcohol, I feel is more of like it depresses the
Yeah,
energy.
it's a depressant. Yeah,
Mhm.
we stopped alcohol 5 years ago. In fact, it's been almost 5 years ago that our lives changed and it was actually what's, I guess we could even say the beginning of the book, or a lot of the concepts within the book. And we were in Costa Rica and we were at a ayahuasca retreat that was there, and it was the third night, and it was all female shaman. And I married myself. I had a whole ceremony, and I can still remember that I was so proud of myself because this temple that I had designed was so cool. The ego
That
was
sounds
creeping in,
amazing.
the ego in there was sort of creeping, and so since then I've actually written the vows of a self-marriage, and I've got them on our
Church of Unreasonable
Church of
Happiness.
Unreasonable Happiness website. We can talk about that too.
That's awesome.
So, I came out of that journey, and we had another girlfriend was with us, and I was elated. I was just like, I was so self-accepting, and I wanted to tell the world. I wanted to tell the world everything about my sexuality. I was just like, this is who I am. Like it or not, this is who I am. I just want to be true. And then I had a major reality check from Kandace and our girlfriend, because any decisions that I make are going to reflect upon them immediately. And so, I could have taken that as, well, this is what I need to do because I need to do it for me. And so, well, no, I also need to do it for us. So I withdrew, and I didn't express that. And
Well, we're talking about, coming out and telling everyone that we have an
telling,
open
telling
relationship.
our kids, because they didn't know.
And this
nobody
was 5
knew.
years ago you're talking
Yeah,
about
5
too,
years
right?
ago.
Yeah.
And
Because obviously you're coming out now.
oh yeah. Well, there's a story behind that too. And so coming out of that, this is me. This is who I am. And your opinion of me, that's your opinion, and that's your perspective. And that's, and I don't know where you're coming from, and I don't know what possible trauma that caused your perception of me to be that, but that's what it is. So I have people around me that love me, and that's what I really need, they expect me who I am. So a lot of that kind of rubbed off a little bit, on us within the book, and just being able to, truly express who we are. And that's, we now get so many people sharing with us because we're honest and we're open, and, so they feel that, they're able to be vulnerable, because we have been, I guess. I've never felt vulnerable. I've never felt that. I've always just pride in who I've turned out to be. And if you like it or not, that's your deal. But
I'm a lot like you.
So that was kind of the start of it. And then we started getting more into the mushroom end of it. And then COVID hit. And that's when we spent every morning, we had no place to go. We had nothing to do. So we just laid in bed and we got into each other.
And we started experimenting with the energy, moving the energy around, and
it was starting to come up, and it had appeared a little bit through some of the psychedelic journeys and things that, some of the connections and some of the understanding and things. But then all of a sudden it started work between the two of us, and because the last time we studied tantra was, we were in our early 20s, and we were just married. It was something already at that point. We got to spice this up a little bit. And at the time, we just didn't have an understanding of it because, we had a different perspective on things.
Where do you do your research or get your information about Tantra? I'm curious because I've done quite a bit of study myself as well, but it's hard to like I've gone
a
the
good
very
place to
spiritual
start.
route, and I've gone the very sexual route, but it's hard to find one that's kind of all.
Well, I would
works
say
for you.
start going to a Tantra festival. It'll
Okay.
be the basics. It'll tell you and show you, things about
They teach connectivity,
Yeah.
connection with your partner.
eye gazing. You'll do breath work. There'll be
I think I know
aesthetic
most of
dance
that
together.
already.
There'll be ways
There's nothing unique to it. It's
Yeah.
just putting it into practice is really what it is. And it's just more understanding energies and how they work, and within your own system, within your own body.
So tell me about bubbles, because I don't want to run out of time before I get to hear what you mean by bubbles.
Just people listening didn't listen to the conversation before the show started, but we're talking about the bubbles that we live in, and within our bubble, we think that everybody knows about what ENM is. We think that they have an understanding of all of these things, plant medicines. We just think, oh, doesn't everybody know about mushrooms? Doesn't everybody know about MDMA? Doesn't where have they been? And then you start to realize how small your bubble is. And so it's good that we're slowly bringing people into these bubbles, and sort of teaching them.
It's not
what
like
it's
we're
about.
bringing them in; they're coming to
coming
us.
in. Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing that they kind of go, there's something about you guys. We just want to get to know you. Do you want to come over for, tea or whatever? We go, sure. And like, because we always say we never miss an opportunity.
Yeah, you never know.
These people aren't even close to what we believe in.
Mhm.
They're on a different path, but somehow they're attracted to us. So we kind of go, okay, let's go. Let's
This
go.
is what I'm doing with dating right now.
Yes.
I'm just
Oh,
like,
I'm
if
sure you
if they're
have.
courageous enough to actually
Us,
close,
that's right.
yeah, if they're brave enough to close the deal and actually
Yeah.
ask me out, then I'll
Then
go out
why?
and see
That's
what it's
right. Don't
like.
miss an opportunity. And
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It was still an adventure.
And we always say
And
we've always got a story. No matter what happens, if things all go for shit, we'll always have a
we
story.
have a story, and we usually make it sound pretty funny afterwards.
It's our way of coping.
For sure. So
So anyway,
you,
so that's a lot of the
yep.
bubbles, and now our bubble has encroached upon yours, and so your viewers and our listeners, and people that know about us, now we're spreading these bubbles bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're spreading, spreading the word. Sounds like gospel, but it's
I always think spreading our legs.
The gospel of E&M.
yeah. So in the book we talk about we had a friend over one time at one of our parties that we had, and it was a mixer. And we used to love to do that. We'd take all of our sort of swinger friends, and we'd invite a bunch of our vanilla friends, and we'd just throw them all into the room together. And, we were open with everybody. So, when we said earlier that we weren't open, it was just our kids, really.
Yeah.
Kids,
Oh, I
kids
know
and
the
family.
feeling. I've been there.
But
Yeah.
everybody else knew. Like kids, we worked in the film business, and I mean,
It was
it was a
pretty
business that
open.
was pretty,
Mhm.
harass was still two words, and it was easy for us at that point. And but this one day he just looked at us and he went, "You guys are like vampires trying to get people to join this crazy cult of yours." And so ever since then we've had this.
Now we do this.
So if we're in a party and we maybe aren't standing close to each other, but we're within eye shot of each other, I might look at you and kind of look at Kandace and look at you and kind of go like this, and look at you, and she'll go, and then we know that there's a mutual attraction, because at that point we don't know. It's a physical attraction. That's all we care about at that point. Let's go over, talk. Maybe they really super irritate us the minute we talk to them. We don't know that, but let's check that
Shut
out.
up and look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all part of that bubble.
That is so interesting. So do you have do you have kind of standards, physical standards for the people that you allow into your relationship?
Yeah. They have to think they look attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up
That's
to them
true.
if
They
they
do,
want
because they have to be confident, right?
They
That's
have
it.
to look that they're attractive. I mean, it's just if they're a 10 or if they're a 6, they could both be the 10 could come up to be a 5 really, really quickly, depending on how they present. And,
I agree with
it
you.
is, it's having that confidence. And, we adore, I just adore women. But,
And you're both very intelligent, so I suspect that you're probably attracted to intelligent people as well.
oh yeah, and artists
People that are open,
people that are
and creative, and
yeah.
and
You're just
willing to
horny for everyone. No, just kidding.
Yeah, we don't have no judgment. So I mentioned just previously for a quick second, we have started a church.
Yes, that's right. I was like,
Yeah.
I know there was something else. What was it?
Yeah. So we started a church, and it happened we have a Zen den in our house, what we call the Zen den. And it's this room that we converted because we used to be on our hot tub every day for an hour to talk. That's what we've done. We still do that 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Just hit the bong, sit in the tub, and talk for an hour. And the idea is, Kandace is the secretary. I channel stuff. Things come out of my mouth. I don't know. And we have a great time for an hour. So anyways, weather goes shitty, we need to move inside. So we built our little Zen den in our house. And it's our meditation room. It's our playroom. It's our consult room. It's our journey room. It's whatever, but it creates this energy, or collects this energy in that room that we like to build up. So anyways, one night we're having this fantastic time, and the husband of the couple that was with us just looks over and he goes, "You need to call this place the Church of Unreasonable Happiness." And so the next day I designed a logo for it. I trademarked the name. I registered the website.
We like
I,
that.
I created a website for it. And so that's what it's become. So it's become this sort of new, not new age, but it's like God is within us all. And there's no judgment on what you believe. If Jesus is your homeboy, cool, whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
as long as you've got some love and light in your heart, and that's what it's really all about. So it does it, and it starts to really
Beautiful.
borrow a lot based on that Taoist and Buddhist practice, and sort of gathering things from our upbringing in church, but without putting any particular deity or anything, because you are
Yeah.
the deity, you are the God. So
Well, and according to non-dual Shiva Tantra, God is, we are all
we
God. We're
are.
all
Yeah.
basically
That's exactly.
God experiencing itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. That's wonderful. That means like everything is God. My mouse is
That's
It is.
right.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, it
My
is.
microphone, my
Yeah.
bra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why
I
we
really
need
love
to.
tantra spiritualism. Like I really resonate with it more than any other it reminds me a lot of stoicism. It reminds me a lot of like philosophies that focus on how we arrive on this earth and then we also dissolve into this earth, and it's not like this shocking thing that we all die one day and
Mhm.
all of that. It's just it's really hard to get your head around when you're so used to having the materialistic way of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out your church.
Yeah. Church. It's just churchofunreasonablehappiness.org no, it's
Dot
.com.
com. That's a
No, it's
dot
.com.
com.
Yeah. Churchofunreasonablehappiness.com. Because
And
our evolutionarysex.org was for orgasm. We just
That's
thought that
right.
was a good
We
one.
like that one.
evolutionarysex.org. Ooh, I like that. I never thought of that. You guys are hilarious. And evolutionary sex, that's for your coaching and your books, I'm assuming?
And
Correct.
yes,
Yeah.
it's our series of books and also for our um, facilitating, mushroom journeys and also any kind of coaching,
Yeah.
couples
Intimacy
coaching that we
working.
do and intimacy work. And sometimes we do a mixture of both. It might be a journey with mushrooms and afterwards, going right into learning how to do energy orgasms. Because at this point now you're completely open and you're relaxed and you're allowing this new energy to work.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
And you're in a safe container.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it works. It
Is
works
there
well.
any message you have? I don't usually end like this, a podcast like this, but since we are doing the Christmas special, is there any message that you would like to give to couples who are interested in learning more about this, or even just couples in general in this amazing season?
Yeah, it's just don't forget about don't forget to, with all these distractions and all these things that we're supposed to be doing around here and all of the complications and all the stress that we put ourselves through, that it's just completely unnecessary that we have to present ourselves as this, perfect mother, this perfect father, this, whatever it happens to be, buying somebody just an outrageously expensive gift as some kind of a token of guilt, possibly, or not being present within the relationships and not really knowing what that person wants. But women are supposed to love baubles, so let's get her some expensive baubles. And but what she might have really wanted was 3 hours just of your
Of massaging
and your
First
attention
thing
and
I thought of too, Candace.
your commitment to that person, just some light touch. And if a person doesn't have the strength in their hands, just to take the fingertips and just glide them over the top, it's just this beautiful connection and that we love to do. So that would be my only recommendation, is if you want to,
Mhm.
get tight. And it works both directions too. Men sometimes don't,
They don't want to
they don't
say
want
it,
to
but
express the
then,
fact that they
and then
want
if you
to.
actually say, well, tonight, honey, I'm going to tie you to the bed, I'm going to blindfold you, and you're just going to lay there. And you're just going to
And you can't
love
touch me.
all. That's the other thing, not letting them touch you, because then they have to receive. It's not like, oh, well, she's doing it, I better touch her too. No, you want them to totally get into the feeling that they are being being spoiled, that it's all about them. And that's an incredible feeling to have.
The other thing too, completely not off the topic, but something that has come up within some of our books and some of the people we talk to is that our generation, your possibly generation, you're kind of on the, no, you're definitely our generation, I guess, for that. We were the last generation to have sex before we saw porn. Virtually everybody else, like younger than us, have experienced porn in all of its presentation before they actually had intimacy with a real human. So, as far as what they think is supposed to happen, that's where they're going to carry into their first initial relationships. And especially if it's, young people moving into it, that's what they think that it should be. So there needs to be some education, there needs to be some exploration, discussions with people just to try to pull them away from that idea of what sex is, because that's still what too many people have, the idea that that's what it is.
I imagine a workshop. I do one component, you guys do another component.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, thank you both so much. Honestly, I've fully enjoyed this conversation. The hour has flown by.
It sure has.
I definitely will be checking out your audiobook when it comes out.
Yep.
And I definitely would love to work with you guys again and have you on my podcast.
That would be great.
So there's a couple changes. Our first book, Fucking Our Way to Enlightenment, we've rewritten that book now. And after we revised it, we were having some issues, as we can get into other conversations about marketing, about trying to sell our services, about trying to do all those things.
Especially when you use the word fucking.
Oh, I know. I'm running into problems too. My book's banned everywhere.
We were really kind of, we still love the title. We still love all the aspects of it. But for a lot of people, there was a bit of a pushback on it. Because again, we think our bubble is this thing, that these are all these things. And all of a sudden you realize, well, so we've redone the book. We've taken a lot of what we call woo-woo out of it, because we started really getting into a lot more on that book
of the energy orgasm
and the enlightenment and the connection and the spirituality aspect of it. And we've taken it more towards actual true relationship aspects, like through ethical non-monogamy, and we've really dedicated much more of the book to that. So
it has a new title. It's called Creating a Happily Ever After Through Non-Monogamy.
And that was our editor kind of going, you guys, because we've known her now for a few years and personally, and it's this happily ever after that that you try to present. And so that's, we thought that was a great.
I wonder if I should change my title. My book is called How Sex Work Shaped My Life, and it's been banned in most, like Amazon won't sell it to most states.
Yeah, see, that's what we're kind of running into. So that's why, and then we're doing everything under the Evolutionary Sex banner. So it's Evolutionary Sex banner, and then the other one is Triangle of Trust: Secrets to Happy Threesomes.
Yeah, that one I can't wait till that's going to be on audiobook, I hope.
That'll be on audio.
That'll be on audiobook, and then next year, Baby Boomer or Banging Boomers will be out, and it'll be discussing a lot of things that you're going through with health issues, and how to use our abilities and use our techniques that people that are with disabilities, or just erectile issues or dryness or whatever it is that they happen, how they can still maintain that
intimacy, just finding it in a different source.
I love it. Exactly. Yeah, that's a lot of what I teach as well.
Oh, good.
So we could probably have an amazing conversation about that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Definitely have to schedule that in for a future podcast.
Like that. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Love you guys.
Love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm Annie Temple, the erotic entrepreneur. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.